I'm a professional makeup artist, let's assess Hailey Bieber's makeup history. So like most of us, in her early teens, she was experimenting with her makeup and her eyebrow shape. She was really into waxing her eyebrows to create more of an arch. And this is really common for people who have less real estate in the eyebrows. They'll be inclined to remove hairs to increase that space, so there's more room for false lashes, mascara, and more colorful eyeshadow looks, like we saw in the late 2010s. But thankfully, towards the end, like when she got into her modeling career, she started to grow out her natural brow shape, which was great. But she was still experimenting with more classical eyeshadow applications. So we see a lot of darkness in the upper eyelid, which for her eye shape is not really the most flattering. Now you can see her natural eyebrows are like in full swing, and they're quite dark. And even when she's playing with her hair color, she keeps the eyebrows dark. And even though she has some more real estate now, that darkness in the eyeshadow is still pretty closed off by the eyebrows, and it's making her eyes look more deep set, and it's just kind of dominating the contrast in her face. Whereas when I look at Hailey Bieber, I see her beauty traits as being like she's a really prominent bone structure and full lips, and those are more the focal point, and also really beautiful skin, and those are more of a focal point than her eyes and her eyebrows. Again, we're seeing the closed off eyebrows, which are the natural shape, which is great, but they're kind of closed off by the more traditional eyeshadow application, and it's sort of distracting from her what I think are her dominant beauty features. Now fast forward to now when she has her makeup brand, she's definitely leaning into like the skin forward emphasis on the cheeks with the beautiful blush placement, and she is keeping for the eyes, she's focusing more on lashes and mascara, and the eyebrows are minimally groomed, and she's using like a brow gel or lamination to manage the brow hairs. And for the lips, she's really using her lips as a focal point in the makeup, carrying that blush color into the lips. And she's also spending a lot of time with the contouring, using different colors for the lip liner to add a lot of dimension to her lips, and putting a gloss on top to just make everything look hydrated and dewy like the rest of the complexion. Really beautiful. So when we have a more deep set eye with the lower brow, and we don't have a ton of real estate in the eyelid for a traditional eyeshadow application, a way to open up the eye without removing hairs like she'd done in the past is to either lighten the brow or just to bleach it completely. And you can see when you make that eyebrow visually disappear, you open up the eye, and she can now afford to put in pretty much any eyeshadow color she wants and add all the definition and lashes because the eye is opened visually. Now this is more of an editorial look, but she could totally pull off this look in everyday life if she wanted to, if that was her style. Again, a really natural skin, dewy, beautiful skin. She has a blushy color on the lips, but nothing's matte. Everything's satin to glowy. This is a good example of when I think she's doing too much and it sort of overwhelms her features. Like we have a darker, kind of a smoky eye, and then we have the brows have been filled in and they're laminated so they're the darkest and fullest that they can be. And then we have like this statement red lip. So it's a lot of things going on. And it doesn't look bad by any means, but just as a makeup artist, there's a lot going on and it's sort of distracting to a degree. So I would just reel it back. Like this is an example where she's doing a statement lip, but she's kept the eyes a lot more minimal, and the brows are not filled in. They're more natural looking, even though they're still groomed and gelled down. They're more of a natural shape. And the eyes, definitely has some eyeshadow going on, but she's leaning more into like a textural contrast by using like a gloss and a shimmer, it looks like. But now that eyeshadow look is just accentuating her eyes, but it's not competing with that statement lip. So the overall look is very clean and sophisticated. Now these two looks have to be some of my favorite, but for different reasons. This look is an example of, this is like a large amount of eye makeup, but it works on her eye shape because the liner, instead of going up and out and sort of intersecting with that eyebrow and cutting into that real estate space, the makeup artist kept the eyeliner kind of going straight out and even wrapping around into the under eye. So creating new real estate for eyeliner, they're really not taking up much of the lid at all. This appears like a very graphic and thick eyeliner, but in reality, it's only going like 1/4 up onto the mobile eyelid, so it's actually quite low. Most of the bulk of the eyeliner is really out into the corner of the eye. So this brow bone is kept wide open. They even put some highlighter to open it visually. The brows again are natural, not too thick, filled in a little bit, but not competing for attention. The skin, as usual, is glowy and beautiful. There's a lot of blush, beautiful glossy lip. So she's really sticking to like that default staple. So if she's going to make the eyes a focal point, everything else is going to be natural. and then she flips it vice versa when she wants to emphasize the lips. Obviously very tan and beautiful skin. Here you can get a better look at that angle of that eyeliner. See how it's almost dropping when she's smiling and crinkling her under eye as she smiles. You can see that liner is dipping down almost. That's because it's going straight out. If you have like deep set or slightly hooded eyes and a small real estate between the lash line and the brows, you want that liner to kind of go straight out, not down, because if you tried to make that liner cut into that fat pad by the brow bone, first of all, that angle of the eyeliner is going to end up getting too close to the brow and visually close off the whole area, and it's going to move around when she makes expressions like she is in this picture. So the eyeliner is not really getting too distorted. Now these are both examples of like my favorite look. They're very similar. Another great tip for people with deep set and or hooded eyes with not a lot of real estate in the upper eyelid is to utilize that bottom lid. We have two eyelids, you guys. You have an eyelid on the top and an eyelid on the bottom. Doing a beautiful contrasting color to make the eyes pop. She's making the green in her eyes pop by adding an aubergine, eggplant, purple, almost maroon shade to her lower waterline and then smoking it out to sort of add definition to the eye, add color contrast, while also not adding too much depth to the upper eyelid and keeping the area opened. That's a really common theme you'll see in all of her makeup, is keeping this upper eyelid open. That's one of her makeup rules. And then also she's carrying that color into the lips, glossy again, beautiful blush placement. Overall, get great contrast, not too dark, and she's utilizing color to make her features pop. But she's letting her dominant beauty features show through with her bone structure and her lips. And the eyebrows, perfectly groomed, yet natural and not competing for attention. This one's the same thing, except this time she went a little bit more dramatic. This is a good example of a smoky eye for people with more deep set eyes with less real estate. And she's actually smoking out the lower lash line more than the top slightly. See how she's added some depth and then added some textural contrast by using a sparkle shade. Really beautiful. You don't see Hailey wearing false lashes very often because, again, those false lashes are going to take up visual space and close off the upper eyelid. One tip I would say for Hailey in this case, she likes to do more of like a laminated brow, but there are different types of laminated brows. If you're going to do it, you don't want to distort, you don't want to thicken the brow at the consequence of disturbing the upper perimeter of that arch. You want to keep that shape. So you can tell here that they definitely trimmed some of the hairs, so there aren't any like these tendrils poking up, distorting the shape of the eyebrows. So this is an example of a successful laminated brow for her brow shape. So the brow is groomed, but it's still natural and it's not dominating or competing for attention. Whereas here, this is more like a casual makeup look. You could tell that the brows are not trimmed. They're way more natural, and there's sort of these tendrils forming because of the lamination gel, and it's distorting that upper perimeter of the brow and distorting her arch, which is not a horrible thing, but it's just something to consider, that it's going to sort of make the brows more striking and apparent, and it's going to compete with other features on the face. And I think for Hailey that it looks a lot better when the brows are not the focal point and they're just complementing and adding structure to the overall look. So Hailey's definitely came a long way and found her makeup aesthetic. Like and comment if you enjoyed this analysis video. Comment other celebrities that you would like me to do. This is some of the tips you heard in this video. People can apply to their own makeup and learn something